studio with us, believe it or not, in person, Vince Mercuri. I've been ragging on Vince because I haven't seen him for
Good morning, Todd.
Vince Mercuri is with us from the Open Door. Erik Lauber, the MARTI Institute. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good to have you with us here today. We have been not just following, but actively following all of the events surrounding the opioid epidemic since it first came to light 10 years ago?
Yeah, at least. Probably closer to 15, but it's been around a long. Maybe it hit the press big time probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
You're correct.
the numbers really skyrocketed in the last 5 years or so, and thankfully the trend is actually going the other direction for Indiana County, if not for our surrounding counties. It means a lot of people are doing a lot of good work, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, there's a lot of community cooperation, a lot of organizations that stepped up and started doing things together. The Overdose Task Force is something that Vince and I both sit on. Vince chairs it, actually. And out of that has arisen a lot of new ideas that Vince can talk about. And the numbers have gone down, at least for accidental overdose deaths. We're down about 47% in our county alone from 2017 to 2018. Some of the counties near us have also seen a drop, not as significant as that, but not all counties. Yeah. So it's something that's really still scary for all of us.
Yeah, I think we probably need to guard against saying, okay, the numbers of deaths are going down here, therefore the problem, we have a grip on it. It's going to be.
Yeah, we're actually pretty driven to keep the momentum going. The Overdose Task Force, with again the coroner Jerry Overman's really involved with that, and we've decided to keep meeting every month and not to let up. To keep doing some strategies of how we can impact this, and we've also begun to prepare, because one of the things we've seen over the last 6 to 9 months is a spike in speed and methamphetamine usage with our clients. So we've begun to train our staff to deal with that as well.
There have been 3 meth lab busts in the last week. Trooper Greenfield is going to come in and talk with us about it later this week, about the dangers of methamphetamine, because we think of, okay, there's the heroin problem, there's the heroin fentanyl problem, and we're battling here and we're battling there. There are all kinds of substances out there that can harm us, and it seems like there is a demand for it. If there wasn't the demand for it, Erik, then probably we'd have a better handle on it.
I agree, and that's clearly where my efforts are focused mostly. I mean, we do a lot of research at the MARTI Institute on all aspects of this problem, but as a journalism faculty and psychologist as well, I focus on the prevention side. So we do a lot with public awareness campaigns, public education. We do a lot of events. We'll be putting on a movie here in a couple weeks at Christ Church on February 15th for the community. It's a free movie, The Beautiful Boy movie, that's just recently come out. Though I want to mention the trigger warning. It's pretty graphic sometimes, so be careful if you come. Don't bring your children. But we also are trying to fundraise, because we still spend a lot of money on this. So the MARTI Institute and the Open Door are still spending a lot of money on prevention and treatment. So this year, the Heart of a Champion Awards event, instead of what we did last year with Franco Harris and Sheriff Bob Fyack beginning awards at a big event at the Country Club, we're doing something a little bit more low-key. We're doing an online fundraising campaign. $100 a day buys a day of prevention or treatment. That's about what each of us, our unit, spends to try to help out with this crisis. You can allocate a certain day that you want to memorialize because of someone in your life that may have some significance. You can add a name to it if you want. You'll get a certificate in the mail, and we have an event to celebrate everybody on March 27th, which will be in the downtown Indiana Theater.
Okay. Yeah, we're bringing in a recovering comedian named Tim Greeley, who's known nationwide. He's hilarious if you've gone on YouTube and watched his performance. And that's kind of our gift back to the people who have bought a day. And so we're really excited to continue to partner with IUP and the MARTI Institute to try to increase the awareness about prevention and treatment. And then this fundraiser helps us to honor people out there. So, for example, people buy a day, and maybe it's in honor of a relative who that's their sobriety date. Maybe they say February 1st is my day of sobriety, or they do it in memory, unfortunately, of somebody who may be passed, or they just celebrate somebody who in the community is involved in the addiction and recovery field. And so we've had people buy a day in honor of that person who's a staff member. So it's a way to increase the awareness, address some of the stigma issues that are out there, show that people do recover, and at the same time becomes an opportunity for us to continue our partnership to raise some monies for both of our organizations.
All right, so while this is top of mind during our conversation here, tell people how they can get involved.
Well, there's a website that they can go to called heartofachampionawards.com. And if you go to that site, it walks you through exactly how there's PayPal, there's different mechanisms to be able to pay. You could mail a check to the open door, walk in, but on the website it tells you exactly how to buy the day and then the follow through and what that will get for you. And at this point, we're getting some good prizes that people are donating that we're going to actually give the people that evening as well. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that. So if they just go at the heartofachampionawards.com, it walks you through specifically how to buy a day and what you get for buying that day.
No, a couple of minutes ago, Erik mentioned something, Vince, that you had some items or ideas that have come up out of your recent meetings.
Well, yes, we have a program that started in October of 2017 called CRS, which stands for Certified Recovery Specialist. And this is with Cammie Anderson and the Armstrong, Indiana Drug and Alcohol Clearing Drug Commission's help, where if somebody overdoses at the scene, so they're with Citizens Ambulance and somebody overdoses and they have to bring them back with the Narcan and naloxone to bring them back. When they come out or when they come back from almost death from the overdose, their family is there. It's obviously a very traumatic scene. The EMS staff or the police give the family or the person a card to call the Open Doors 24/7 crisis line, and I'll make sure I go over that number before we're done. And they dispatch a phone call to the Open Door, who then puts a call into a certified recovery specialist, a live person who talks to the person who just overdosed.
Yeah.
And we're having huge success at that moment getting people into treatment like within the next day or two. We have an appointment scheduled the next morning at 9 and 11. They're standing appointments for people who may have overdosed, and the access rate to getting them into treatment is phenomenal, and so is the success rate. And interesting enough, since that day, and we're not saying that's the only reason this is happening, it's many spokes in this wheel that have helped the overdose deaths to come down. We've seen the decrease start about that time. And so we're getting people into treatment immediately after they overdose after this traumatic event.
It scares them, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that number at the Open Doors crisis line is 877-333-2470. And we have walk-in, mobile, and 24/7 crisis line for people to call to get help. And then obviously for drug treatment services at the Open Door, because we have the two components, our drug treatment program and our crisis intervention department. Now, we have integrated those two for this CRS on call, but the number for the Open Door to get treatment yourselves would be 724-465-2605.
Okay, so that's a lot of information we've been throwing at people, and it probably is a good time for me to remind everybody that all of these interviews get posted at the WCCS website under On Air and the Indiana in the Morning tab. You'll be able to find these. This interview will be posted a little bit later in the day. Erik, as we think about this problem that will never go away, but certainly can be better handled than we have so far, I know that in your position on campus, you have maybe not a whole different set of circumstances, but you have a larger population than the county as a whole. You have people who come in who might not necessarily be Indiana County residents, who come onto campus. They spend their academic time here, may run into problems, may not, but then they leave here and they go back to their home counties or home states or wherever they happen to come from. And I know aftercare has to be an extremely important part of their home life as well.
Aftercare, you mean in terms of recovery?
Recovery when they've entered that pipeline here toward recovery, and then they leave here at the end of a semester or the end of their academic career. There needs to be some sort of resource that they're tapping into.
Yeah, we would actually help hold their hand on that. We have that happen a lot with students who they start services with us maybe in March or April, and they're graduating in May, or they're going home for the summer, where once they start with us, we will coordinate with them in their community. We'll make sure that they know where the meetings are at. We'll help set them up with ongoing counseling at whatever level of care they would need, whether it's intensive outpatient or partial. So you're right, Todd. That linkage, aftercare is the oxygen of recovery. Without it, people suffocate. And so we will hold their hand, because it is a very complicated process, because the resources, let's just say in Reading, PA, might be very different than the resources in Indiana, PA. And so our staff would go online with them, help them find those resources to help navigate those waters, so that when they return, because it's hard enough just going home and seeing all their other buddies that they used to party with. That's a whole nother issue, let alone not having those supports. So we would talk about that with those folks and then help set up an aftercare plan so there is a smooth transition for them to go back into their home communities.
What you're pointing to, though, is the incredible cooperation that actually occurs across organizations and people. That cooperation is probably best in Indiana County from what I can see.
Oh, yeah.
You throw in people like Ann Sesty from campus, who's been working in drug and alcohol addiction. Cammie Anderson's group is fantastic. And I have to bring up Narcan. Narcan is definitely one of the reasons I think, personally, that we've seen a drop in overdose deaths, because Narcan is widely available in our county. Cammie Anderson wrote grants immediately to try to get that out there in the hands of people, and it saves lives. I mean, it does keep people from dying.
I think 5,400 doses have been put out through the county over the last couple of years.
It's amazing.
54. We have a nurse navigator, Tina Hooker, who goes out into the community. And Sesty has hosted things at IUP where Tina goes in and holds little seminars, trainings with the students to teach them about Narcan. When there's a recovery event, they'll set up a booth, and the SCA will do this too. They'll set up a table and do Narcan training there. So it's
I have to add, I think that there's some perception that maybe this is a college student problem, but it's really not.
No.
I mean, the average age of death for the people who has been in the 40s. We have seen all kinds of people from all walks of life struggle with this particular addiction and pass away sometimes. On campus, we have issues. I think they're standard college issues that are around for a long, long time, and we have a small percentage that fall into some of these really terrible drugs. But we're here to help the entire community.
Yeah.
I mean, IUP is working hard, both the MARTI Institute and many other institutes on campus, to do what we can to help the local community.
Yeah, IUP is always at the table at these meetings. They're always there helping out, whatever they can do to help navigate this.
You know, it's funny, Eric, you mentioned about Narcan, and probably when you did, like in my case, I was thinking of a relative who passed away from a heroin fentanyl overdose. And immediately what came to mind is if Narcan had been there that time, that young man would still be with us. Yeah. And that image probably flashed into my mind and probably into the minds of however many people.
And there's a lot
of
mythologies around that. When we interview people, we'll have people say, well, they're having Narcan parties. This is this myth that somehow, because there's Narcan, it's increasing heroin usage or making people feel much more comfortable taking over too much of it. But that's not the case. And we interview people who've had overdoses, like, no, it had nothing to do with it. You know, I've got this problem and I did this, but Narcan did not factor in anything that I did. But Narcan may have saved them. Yeah, often it does, and we want people to get Narcan. And again, I got to thank Cammie Anderson for her initiative on that. She'd make a lot of that happen.
Give them another chance. Gentlemen, it's been good to have you with us here today. Vince, once more information in this last minute before the top of the hour for folks that want to learn more.
The Heart of a Champion campaign by a day. The website for that is heartofachampionawards.com. So if you go to that site, you can access the information and send that. Any questions, you can call the open door at 724-465-2605 and ask questions about how you might make the donation or whatever. That website is definitely the vehicle to get it done. And we're just excited about the continued partnership that we have with MARTI and IUP to try to make a difference in this community.
And thank you to Renda, too. You guys have been full partners in this as well. We're very happy to have
Dave
you.
Neely is always at the table and helping us every way he can.
Awesome.
It's a good team. Good team. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Indiana in the Morning.
Thanks, Todd. Good job, brother.